Okay, now let's discuss JEE Main 2014 solution. And the paper which I am going to discuss is that belong to set E. In the first problem of that set, if you consider there are two sets given, set X and set Y, and then ultimately you have to figure out X union Y is related with what? There are four options related with X, Y, natural numbers and Y minus X. If you look at the set X, that is nothing else but this expression, which you can check is clearly a multiple of 9. Set Y is also a multiple of 9, but if I consider n as 1, since n is a natural number, I'll be getting a value 0 also. Both of the sets are multiples of 9, but this Y is a superset actually. When you consider X union Y, then you should end up getting the set Y itself, because X is a special type of multiple of 9. If I consider this 9k, you'll find that it is related with 9 times NC2, then we have NC3 into 3, etc, etc. This may not represent all kind of multiple of 9, like 0 is one of the example which is there in Y but missing in X. So clearly if I consider X union Y, that's going to match with set Y itself, hence that is going to match with the option 2 given in that problem. Okay, in the next problem, if you consider that's related with complex numbers, one restriction is given on complex number Z that its modulus is more than or equal to 2. On the basis of that information, we have to figure out minimum value of Z plus half its modulus. If I go by the geometrical diagram of this, mod Z more than equal to 2 implies points which are outside the circle having center at origin and radius as 2. And mod of Z plus 2, you can clearly consider it as the distance of that Z from minus half point, which is clearly lying inside somewhere this circle on x-axis. If we need to figure out a Z which is at a least distance from minus half, clearly you can check that is going to come when Z is going to be minus 2, which is one of the diametric end of the circle. When Z is equal to minus 2, that is going to give us the minimum value of this expression, which is equal to then 3 by 2. And if we look at the options, this 3 by 2 is lying between 1 and 2, so clearly answer is going to be then option 4 for that problem. Fine. In the next problem, that is 63rd one, we have a quadratic equation given in T, where T is nothing else but the fractional part of that X, and it's being told that that equation has no integral solution, on the basis of which you have to figure out suitable set of real values of T. For that case, if I consider roots of that quadratic, and if I treat that quadratic in this way, first of all, you should be getting these two values of T. Since we are interested in no integral solution of that equation, one thing you can clearly check that T has to lie in 0 to 1, but more precisely in this particular problem we have to ensure that T should lie in open interval of 0 to 1. Clearly then we can't take the negative sign at this place, as 1 plus 3a square is more than 1. That is going to be always negative, which is not allowed. So acceptable value of T would be this only, and this quantity just we have to ensure that it is less than 1, because this is always possible. If we need to solve this equation, you will find that then 3a square has to be lesser than 3 after squaring it up and all, solving which we end up getting the final solution as this. But this in this particular case, a equal to 0 should not be acceptable, because when we take a equal to 0, you can clearly check t is going to take two values, either 0 or 2 by 3. 0 is something which correspond to that integral solution. That's why you can't consider a equal to 0, which is matching with then the option 3, even though within this problem there are certain ambiguities if you consider. When they are mentioned no integral solution, suppose if we go for integral solution and we start eliminating those cases, we'll find that x and box x are going to be equal when x is an integer. And when x is an integer, you can clearly check that equation is getting simplified to a square equal to 0, which implies a equal to 0 is the only case which correspond to integral solution. Implies then if I reject 0 from the set of real number, that is going to give you either non-integral solution or no solution at all of that equation. So excluding 0, whatever options we have, you can say all of them are correct. But since this particular option we have got it by this mathematical approach, we would take that third option as the correct option. Okay, in the next problem, that is 64th one, we have one quadratic equation given and it's being told alpha beta are roots of that. Further, it's given that the coefficients are in AP of that quadratic, and one more relation is given in the roots, that 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta is 4, on the basis of which you have to figure out mod of alpha minus beta. First of all, I guess people should be aware of this fact that alpha minus beta whole square is always going to be discriminant of that quadratic, in this case which is discriminant by the coefficient of x square whole square. This is what is something we are interested in. And in this case, if I consider this equation where reciprocal sum is 4 of roots, you will end up getting this condition then, which implies then q is equal to minus 4r. Further, we have this information that twice of this quantity is sum of p and r. Clearly then you can check minus of 8r is going to be equal to p plus r. Hence that implies p is equal to minus of 9r. Looking at that expression, alpha minus beta whole square is getting simplified to which is going to give you the final expression as simplifying to 52 by 81, which is clearly going to specify the value of mod of alpha minus beta as the second option in that problem. Okay, in the next problem, it's related with determinants. We have one function given and on basis one determinant is given and its value is also given to you. But that value is related with some unknown quantity k, and there are 4 options, two of them are constant, 2 of them are depending on alpha and beta. First of all, one thing, just by looking at it you can conclude that k should be a constant, because if you consider that determinant it in this way, you can clearly check as far as the degree of that right side is concerned is perfectly matching with the degree of leading diagonal quantity product. Hence this k should not involve any alpha or beta, so 2 options are directly getting eliminated. It's going to be a constant, and for that case one way is that you choose suitable value of alpha, beta such that none of these brackets are 0, and you substitute those values on both the sides, it's going to be an identity, expand it, you will end up getting the value of k. Alternatively, the way this determinant is given, you can factorize it into product of two determinants. Like if I consider one determinant as 1, 1, 1 and another determinant with elements in column as 1, 1, 1, you can clearly check first element follows from that. For the sake of 1 alpha beta, if I consider the second determinant as in this way, you will end up getting that. Further, in this case, this is how you manage that. In the second case, second row, if you consider, the first element is this. If I consider that determinant as this, and in this way, we will find that this whole product is going to match with this quantity. And one more thing, if you check, both these determinants are identical, so this is whole square of it as the right side is given. Moreover, if I consider the expansion of it, and if I look for the perfect, leaving aside perfect square there, if I consider the coefficient of alpha beta square in this expansion of this determinant, it is clearly 1, alpha beta square. In this product, excluding the whole square part, alpha beta square's coefficient is 1. Because of square, I am neglecting that. So the value of k, you can directly say that has to be 1, because coefficients in both the cases are matching perfectly. And hence that is going to give you the final answer as the option 1. Fine, in the next problem is related to the matrices. It's given that A is a 3 by 3 matrix, 3 by 3 orthogonal matrix, and on the basis of which a matrix B is defined, and you have to figure out BB transpose value. If we go in for the property of transpose operation, first of all, let's place the value of B, and taking the transpose of this, we should end up getting this result. As we are aware of this fact that transpose and inverse operations, the order can be interchangeable. There is no difference as such which operation you perform first. This becomes A, and then we have A transpose inverse. Now if you utilize the fact that A is orthogonal, this thing can be written as A into A transpose, and that A with A inverse becomes unit. We have done A transpose here and then A transpose inverse. If I denote A transpose as C, this you can clearly check it's C inverse, which is also going to be unit matrix. Hence the complete product turns out to be unit, which is matching with the option 4. In the next problem, that is 67th one, it's related to the binomial theorem. This product is given to you and it's being told that coefficient of x cube and x4 are both 0, on the basis of which you have to figure out two unknowns A and B. We have two equations also. If we look for coefficient of x cube in the first term of it, once we take it inside, it is going to be clearly in the first term. But in the next case, if I consider x cube, since x we have to look for x square within this expansion of 1 minus 2x to the power 18. Then in the third term, similarly, we should be getting this result equal to 0. This is what is given to you as 0. Similarly, if I manage coefficient of x to the power 4 and when we make it 0, we should end up getting this result equal to 0. Simplifying the first equation after cancelling off 18 and all to further, first equation you will find that it is equivalent to similarly the second equation is getting simplified to this much, solving which we end up getting the value of A as 16 and B as 272 by 3, which is matching with the option 2 in that problem. Okay, next problem is related with arithmetical geometric series. If you observe, one series is given and the result is given in terms of one constant, that is something which you have to figure out. Since 10 to the power 9 is present on the right side also, let's take that quantity to the left hand side. This is what is the value of k. Generally what we do in AGP series is we multiply that AGP series with the common ratio of the GP part, that is 11 by 10 in this case, and we push one unit all the terms. So this first term 1, you'll find that that is going to match with this expression. Then we have 2 into 11 by 10 whole square and so on. We have 9 times this. And the last term of that series is going to match with this expression. After that, what we do, we take the difference of such a series. Clearly on the right side you can check it is negative of k by 10. Once we take the difference of this side, you will end up getting a GP with common ratio as 11 by 10 itself, the first term as 1, and the last term is going to be 11 by 10 to the power 9, but we'll be getting this particular term as a negative 1. Applying the summation of GP formula for this part, you will end up getting the value of k as 100, which is, and check, is the option 1 in that problem. Okay, in the next problem, we have 3 numbers given which are being told that they are in increasing GP. Let us consider those numbers as in AR square form. Further, it is being told that when we double the middle term, this particular series is going to form an AP, on the basis of which we have to figure out common ratio of that GP. Utilizing the fact that this set is forming an AP, we will end up getting this result, which is simplifying to a quadratic equation. 2 roots are which is simplifying to 2 plus minus root 3. But since it is given to you that those numbers are forming an increasing GP, clearly R is going to be more than 1. Hence we need to accept only this value 2 plus root 3. And you have to reject 2 minus root 3, which is matching with the option 2 given in that problem. Okay, in the next problem, that is 70th one, we have one limit problem. And clearly this is in 0 by 0 form, but when we try to correlate this with standard result, we'll find that if I follow this kind of approach, we take cos square as 1 minus sine square, we'll find that this expression is sine of pi sine square x, which is now approaching 0. So in order to utilize that standard result of limit, we have to have pi sine square x in the denominator. Let us multiply with the same along with x square in the denominator, and then we have limit x approaching 0. This part is clearly 1 because it's in sine theta by theta form where theta approaches 0. This part is also 1, so the whole result matches with pi, which is the option 2 in that problem. Okay, in the next problem, it's related with functions. We have one inverse function of some function f given, We don't know the function f, but its derivative value is given to you, on the basis of which you have to figure out g dash x. Clearly, using this statement, we can write fog of x as x. Once we differentiate this relation, we find that g dash of x turns out to be 1 by f dash of gx. Following this fact that f dash is this much, this result is clearly then simplifying to this expression, which is directly matching with the option 2 of that problem. Fine. In the next case, we have two differentiable functions given with some data given in 0 to 1. The way it is given and the way we are looking at the solution can clearly check this is related to mean value theorem. When we apply Cauchy's mean value theorem in this case, using that Cauchy's mean value theorem, clearly you can write this statement when we apply this in 0 to 1. If we go by these values which are given, this result turns out to be 2 for at least one c, which is lying in 0 to 1. Clearly then you can check f dash of c is twice of g dash c, which is matching with the option 2 given in that problem. Okay, in the next problem, we have 2 points given, -1 and 2 as points of extremas for the function given, which involve 2 unknowns, 2 constant unknowns, which you have to figure out using the fact that these points are points of extremes. So all you need to do is that you have to figure out its derivative and you have to make these quantities at their roots. Derivative turns out to be this. Now in this case, when we substitute -1, and you will find that we have minus alpha, then we have minus of 2 beta plus 1 equal to 0. That's first equation. In a similar way, when we consider 2, there is another equation. Solving these two equations, you can clearly check alpha turns out to be 2 and beta turns out to be -1/2, which is matching with the option 1 of that problem. Okay, in the next case, it's related to the indefinite integral. We have one function given whose integral we have to figure out. One thing, if you check, looking at this expression x plus 1 by x, we should be looking for 1 minus 1 by x square, which is not present in this case. So for that case, what I am doing is I am taking x common from this pair of term. You will find that automatically that bracketed quantity which we were looking for, we have got it within that function. Moreover, now if you look at this whole setup, this is in the exact differential of x into e to the power 1, e to the power x plus 1 by x. This is what is that expression simplifying to, integrating which we will end up getting this expression, which is matching with the option 4 in that problem. In the next problem, we have one definite integral within square root. If you observe, that is a perfect square, but since we have positive square root of a perfect square, we have to have a modulus inside, that is 1 minus of 2 sine of x by 2, whose critical point correspond to that case when sine turns out to be half. That means we need to break this interval into the case when x by 2 turns out to be 30, that is 60. In this interval, you can clearly check that 1 is going to dominate over sine. So this is how we can remove that mod sign. But in the next case, we have to have a minus sign outside the modulus, because now sine is going to dominate over 1. So it's going to be 1 minus 2 sine x by 2 again, along with a minus sign. Integrating which, easily manage this integration, they are in standard form. After putting the limits, you will find that this is going to match with the option 2 given in that problem. Okay, in this case is related with area. We have two curves given. One correspond to all points inside that circle as well as on the periphery, whose center is at origin and radius is 1. Another one is a parabola opening rightwards, whose vertex is one of the end of that circle, one of the end of the diameter of that circle. As far as that circle is concerned, it's corresponding to all points inside. As far as this parabola is concerned, if you check 0, 0 is satisfying that. So this is what is the required region we have, whose area we are interested in. Clearly this part of it is half of the complete area of that circle, that is pi by 2 since radius is 1. And for the other half, using symmetry of that parabola, symmetry line of that parabola, and clearly check that this is ranging from, y is ranging from 0 to 1, and the value of x turns out to be 1 minus y square dy, integrating which will end up getting the option 3 as the correct answer for that problem. Okay, next problem is related to differential equation. When differential equation is given in this form, and clearly check that is in linear form or that is in variable separable also. If I go in for the direct integration for this, clearly you can check this is related with which is simplifying to hence the value of that pt is going to be 400 plus lambda e to the power t by 2. One condition is given for this lambda, p of 0 in this case is 400 plus lambda, clearly then lambda is minus 300, hence is what is that solution, which if you observe is matching with directly the option 3 in that problem. Next problem is related with coordinate, and in which case one triangle is given to you and is being told that PS is the median of that triangle. Clearly you can check then S is the midpoint, whose coordinate is (13 by 2, 1). The line whose equation we are looking for is parallel to this PS. Clearly then the slope of PS which is then simplifying to negative of 2 by 9. Hence the equation of that straight line would simplify to this, which is matching perfectly with the option 4 given in that problem. Okay, in the next problem, if you consider there are two straight lines given, 4ax, 2ay plus c, and 5bx, 2by plus d equal to 0. As being told that these two lines are actually meeting in fourth quadrant, and that is equidistant from the two axes. Clearly you can then say that coordinate of that point, the point of intersection, must be of k comma minus k type. Positive, negative because that is in the fourth quadrant, and same numerical value because both of them are equidistant from both the coordinate axes. So k minus k should simultaneously satisfy both the equations. You can then check that the value of k from the first equation, once you substitute this, is this much, and in a similar way value of k from the second equation is this, equating both of them. You can clearly check then it is thrice of BC is equivalent to twice of AD, which is matching with the option 1 given in that problem. Okay, in the next problem is related with conic section, that more particularly it's related with ellipse. You have to figure out locus of phi top perpendicular from the center of that ellipse to any tangent. If I consider a square and b square as 6, 2, clearly the equation of tangent, what we consider it as this. Suppose if I consider the foot of perpendicular as hk from the center, hk clearly is going to satisfy this equation. So we have one equation involving h and k as in this manner. Moreover, we have to utilize this fact that slope of this line, that is this, and slope of the line joining center and this foot of perpendicular, their product should be equal to -1 as they are dropping perpendicular from the center. One thing you can clearly check, then cot of theta turns out to be AH by BK. All you need to do is then you have to eliminate cos and sine from this equation without introducing any third parameter. That you can manage in this manner, since cot is AH by BK, treating it as B by P, this is what is that required locus. All you need to do is that now you have to simplify this whole matter and clearly check that we have x square plus y square whole square equal to a square x square plus b square y square. After substituting the value of a square as 6 and b square as 2, and check it's matching perfectly with the option A. Fine, in the next problem we have one information about a circle, center and radius is given to you. We have another circle whose center is of this type, that means it's on y axis, and we have to figure out its radius utilizing the fact that this circle touches the first circle externally. One thing you can clearly check that the distance between their centers is matching with this. Suppose if I am not taking square root of it, that should be equal to sum of their radii. If I consider the radius of this circle to be r1, we must be having this relation. But in that problem, one more information is given about this, that the circle is passing through origin. You can clearly check then, utilizing that fact, modulus of y coordinate of the center should match with the radius, using which this expression relates with k plus 1 whole square, simplifying to which we end up getting k as 1/4, whose modulus is matching with the radius, which is related with the option 2 of that one. Okay, in the next problem we have two parabolas given and we have to figure out slope of that line which touches both the parabolas. Since this is related to one of the standard parabola, you can directly write down equation of any line which touches this as this. Since this line we want it to touch this parabola also, clearly then when we solve this pair of curve, we should end up getting only one solution. For that case, substituting the value of y from this line in that parabola, we end up getting a quadratic. Making its discriminant equal to 0 is good enough to ensure that this line also touches this parabola, which is going to give you m cube as 1 by 8. Clearly then m is half, which is matching with the option 3 of that one. Okay, next problem is related to 3D coordinate, where we have one straight line given and the equation of plane. what you need to do is that you have to figure out the quotient of this line in this plane. One thing, if you observe the way this line is given, the dot product of normal of this plane and the line turns out to be 0. And one more thing, if you check 1, 3, 4 is not satisfying this plane. That implies that this line is parallel to that plane. Clearly then its image is also going to be parallel to that. That's why if you observe everywhere in all the options we have 3, 1, minus 5 in the denominator. All I am doing is then I am taking image of 1, 3, 4 which is present on this line with respect to this plane. Whatever image I should end up getting, that image should satisfy the correct line. To find out its image in this plane, all you need to do is that you have to write down a line through this parallel to the normal to this plane, which is then equivalent to whatever variable coordinate we end up getting in this. Substitute that coordinate in this plane, we'll end up getting the value of r, which is once you figure out this r and if you substitute it, you will end up getting the foot of perpendicular. All you need to do is then you have to look for a coordinate whose midpoint is this answer with respect to this and image. If you do that, you will find that that coordinate turns out to be this, which is present only with the option 3. Okay, in the next column we have two relationship given in direction cosines, and then we have to figure out the angle between those lines which satisfy this set of equations. Using these two equations, clearly you can check one thing, that which implies 2 times mn is 0. Taking different cases, when m is 0, clearly L is minus n then. Hence that implies we have direction ratio corresponding to this triplet as this, and when we consider n0, at that point L is then minus m, which implies then we have this triplet, and angle between this pair of direction ratio triplet is going to correspond to their dot product, which is 1 by their magnitude is clearly simplifying to half, hence that correspond to 60 degree, which is the third option of that problem. Okay, in the next column, this is the relationship given for some constant lambda. All you need to do is that you have to figure out the value of lambda. There is a well-known standard result, you can directly mark lambda as 1. Alternatively, if I start off with the left hand side, treating it as STP of these three vectors. Now if I treat this part as VTP, one thing you can check then, A cross B dot B times B is clearly 0. Then we'll have STP of ABC times B, and this whole thing's dot with C cross A. Clearly this is 0, so forget about that part. This is STP of ABC, this is BCA, they are in cyclic order. So clearly then that is nothing else but STP of ABC whole square. Hence lambda is 1, which is the correct option, option 1. Okay, then next problem is related to probability, where three information are given on the basis of which you have to check those events A, B are independent or not, equally likely or not, mutually exclusive or not. One thing you can clearly check, that since A intersection B is not 0, those events are not mutually exclusive. This expression has to be 0 for such a case. So that case is ruled out, so clearly then option 3 can't be correct. The way these values are given, you can easily manage the value of probability of B, which is going to be equal to the complementary of this 5 by 6 minus complementary of this, that is 3/4, and you need to add 1/4 to that, which is then simplifying to 1/3. Just to check whether those events are independent or not, P of AB is given to us as 1/4. That is equivalent to P of A, which is 3/4 times 1/3. So we can safely say that A and B are then independent events. They are independent. As far as equally likely is concerned, their probabilities are different. They are not equally likely, which is clearly specifying the option 1 as the correct answer. In the next problem is related to statistics. If you consider what you have to figure out is the variance, we have to follow simply this formula, which is related with arithmetic mean, and that value, if you substitute for first with the even natural numbers, you'll end up getting this expression, simplifying which you'll end up getting 833, which is what is matching with the option 4 in that problem. In the next problem, we have to simplify this f4x minus f6x, where fkx is given in that. Simplifying that expression into this way, treating this as a square plus b square, where a and b are respectively sine square and cos square, you can clearly check this is nothing else but this. Similarly, treating this as a cube plus b cube, where a and b are again sine square and cos square, this is going to be equivalent to then this expression. After which you can check these two terms which are depending on x gets cancelled off. We are left with 1/4 minus 1/6, which is simplifying to 1 by 12, which is matching with then the option 2 of that formula. Okay, next problem is related with height and distance, where we have two situations given with different inclination. Two dimensions are given. All you need to do is that you have to figure out this distance. That's what is going to be the speed also, because the duration taken in that instant is 1 second. Using this right triangle, if I consider tan 30 in this case, we should end up getting then this ratio, by which you can clearly check then the value of OB turns out to be 20√3. Once you know OB, AB is going to be then this much, and that is what is going to be the speed also, because the duration for that period is 1 second. This is what is going to be the answer, which is matching with the option 2 from that problem. Last problem is related with a reasoning thing. When if you go by the truth table, you will find that that statement which is given in that problem is neither a tautology nor a fallacy we have. And as far as the statement which is given, it is equivalent to P double-sided arrow with Q, which is the option 3 in that problem, and that is what is the correct answer. It's not even equivalent to the fourth option given. It's clearly matching with the option 3.